Are you this morning?
Very good, relaxed. Except I have to say, we did work out again on Sunday.
Yeah.
And this is the second day, and the second day is always worse than the first one.
How are you? I'm glad I don't have to sit down. Every time I sit down, it's that motion just before you.
The muscle ache.
Yeah, bit more on the painful side. So are we riding today, or are we chickening out because it's like I can't move.
I think we're riding today, Dirk. It's
yes.
good for us.
Yesterday we were ready to go. The storms were coming, and I was sort of thinking, yay, we've been missing out on rain again and again. And yesterday it looked so promising.
Yeah, it looked very
started
promising.
to sprinkle, and then it evaporated.
Yes.
Nothing on Toowoomba.
There we go.
Oh, what's going on?
It's going to come. It's going to come. Yeah, hope that everyone feels good and, enjoying summer still. Such a nice summer, hey.
Well, it's actually finished now, isn't it? March is...
yes.
Yeah.
We're
in a different season now.
Oh, man. That leads us to today's topic, hey?
Yeah.
Different
Look,
season.
I want to just lead into some things. First of all, with Matthew 16, verse 3, says this, and in the morning it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. And I thought, this idea, and it's inspirational to some of the things that we've got here. We have now, here's my little yeehaw. So I think Sarah is now putting it on What's On as well, so that you can download the PDF, but on Sundays you can pick up a copy of that. This one, this is now our third edition.
Yes.
And so we started, and Edgar was so excited by this, and people came and sort of said, we love what you're doing. And so out of that came two others, and I'm very happy to say.
So this is the magazine for Living Grace.
That's the Living Grace
Living
one.
Graciously. So full color, high gloss, this looks very nice. And you're doing all the design work.
Yeah,
aren't you?
A lot of the content and layout and stuff.
Yeah, nice.
I'm having a bit of fun with that.
Yeah.
So this issue is actually going to have a little bit about what I'm going to share with you now. But also on Sunday we had both Vicky and Sonia come up, and the back page has a little bit about that, and that is the winter shelter program. There's a lot more about that.
Yeah,
we've got a little bit of
we are
youth
accommodating
ministry.
For 1 day per week up to 12 homeless people.
Yeah.
For 13 weeks at Living Grace.
So there's a little bit more about that. Inside, I thought, hey, we're in Lent, so I thought I might just sort of share with you a little bit about that, what that's about.
Yeah.
Jesus walked to the cross.
Okay.
But that's that issue. And drum roll, 2 editions now added to that because of the encouragement. One, I'm going to let Edgar speak to that one. It's called Church in Oz. And it has a little subtitle, Finding Our Way in a Changing World. And the other one is going to be called the Gracious Word or Gracious Word. And it's going to be part of the counseling practice to give you a little bit of advice inside on different topics about how we can be helpful and caring, and just the accidental counseling kind of things when you have sit downs with friends over a cup of coffee, and there might be some resources that will develop out of this for you too. But so that's going to come out there. But this one here, Edgar, I just want to think that what I just said about the discerning the changing times.
Yes.
We're not living in the same times.
No.
And how did this one come? Because this one is going to involve the pastors in Toowoomba writing into that.
Yeah, if they're on board, but first and foremost, it is for Living Grace, and then can be distributed more widely. I just feel like the whole world has changed compared to 20, 30 years ago. Like, Christianity is no longer mainstream. The churches are no longer strong, and right in the middle of culture. We still got sort of the remnants of it, but we're a minority now. We're an embattled minority. I just reading a novel. Just started one, Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. It's about Oliver Cromwell, and so it's historical fiction, whatever. But already there's I think a very strong anti-Christian bias in there, and she won the Booker Prize. So, the really highly acclaimed novels. And so wherever you look in culture right now, the Christians are morally inferior. even despicable. And so and that goes with all the gender debates. And if a Christian says there's actually a biological male person, a biological female person, and so anyway, everyone knows it's a lot going on. And I just feel like we got to talk about it, we got to think about it, we got to find our way throughout all these issues. But I thought the pulpit is the wrong place to always talk about it, because you want to talk about Jesus and what he's done for us, what he's offering for us, and relating to him. So there's got to be another way.
Although this first issue does have a connection to the sermon that you had, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting about the embattled minority.
Yes.
And what does it mean now that we're starting to wake up to the realization that we're a remnant?
Yes.
We're no longer the bee's knees of society. We're kind of, like as you're saying, almost a despicable me kind of character, is it?
A little bit. You just have to listen to how Margaret Court was attacked, and what they said about her publicly. But I feel because we are a minority, it's no longer easy to drift in and out of church easily. I live in the world, and it's okay. The demarcation lines will be far clearer. You're living a different life when you belong to Jesus.
I think one of the things that both Edgar and I feel very strongly at this time is that we've had a season that impressed upon us that where God is saying, I want you to start speaking about the bride and bridegroom, the love coming back into, that personal relationship. But I think another part that's starting to emerge out of, your sermon and many other things is discerning the times and being able to stand and give an account even in the midst of opposition.
Yes.
How do you live a Christian life when it's all against you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, that there are seasons in history. And, you had a verse, but I have another verse in Revelations chapter 3, verse, I think, 10. So, there's an hour of trial coming that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live on the earth. So an hour of trial. So the seasons in history are not always the same. And I feel like as Christians, it's part of our job to be discerning and know what's going on. And then when a trial is coming, when things are changing, to make a very deliberate stand with following Jesus. And you look at the big picture and whatever, but really what we're on about, it begins with us.
It does.
How do I live? Because we can't probably influence everything out there, but we can influence our own little lives and maybe, family and people around us.
Do you know, Edgar, I think during lockdown we had, again, Holy Spirit gave us an inspiration to start the mini branches, and we had this idea of one church, many locations.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about small groups, it wasn't about, cell groups, home groups, anything. It was actually a totally different idea, yet, it's similar to being in homes and so. But the thing is that I think that God is setting us up to be in an environment where the importance is have a network of people around you that you can care for, who will care for you. That is part of a whole series of connections that are making part of this church. Because I think that like it or not, I think the mini branches are going to be essential for the relationship part of what you're talking about.
And where you experience love in a healing community. There's so many issues out there, and the Christians are controversial, but we got life, and we got wholeness. I think so many theories that are out there are going to be so destructive. People will be broken, and then they need a community where they find healing and acceptance and love. And you want to start with us. Hey, but you have a third one. You've missed out on the third one.
Oh, so the third one, well, looking at that one is part of the counselling practice, and this one is kind of like, just sort of highlighting that we've got the 3 that started off last year, but this year is looking so, God is adding to our number. So we're getting more counsellors coming in, and it's kind of like, upping the standard of things. And when Edgar thought of this one, I thought, wouldn't it be great to actually have something like this? It started off when Penny wrote a column. And I think you had this joke about, we could have a column that asked Auntie Penny.
Yeah, ask Auntie Penny. That's right.
So I actually asked Penny to say, look, write it for this one. And she wrote about how important it is to understand what is caring ministry in the congregation.
Yes.
Because, we have come out of, again, looking at the changing times, we've come out of a culture that basically is put it onto the professionals. Caring is done by the pastor or some other person that is paid in that position, but we don't care. It's kind of a consumer orientation. We are on the receiving end, so the pastor just runs around everywhere looking after everyone, but it's that model does not work in this new era when we actually have a biblical mandate that talks about we need to start caring for one another.
Yeah.
And so she writes about that.
To be fair, at Living Grace, that culture hasn't been there in a long time. The church, is very good caring for one another. I think one sign is even at the prayer line on Sunday. Members are not going, I need to go to the pastor. You may actually be the one that is not busy at all because, I know she can pray better than, or has a bit of a prophetic word and whatever. So that is brilliant.
And I find that on Sunday, I often, after the service sermon and stuff like that, want to meet some of the new faces, right? So I circulate a little bit. But what I'm finding too is that in the congregation, people are already turning to one another and saying, how are you? Yeah. And I start seeing people praying with one another. And there's real activity, what I think would be a vital part of what church life is like when it's healthy.
Yes. Yeah. And I love it. It seems to be healthy because no one wants to go home. Yeah. It's good fellowship. But anyway, bringing maybe this morning one to a close. So we got 3 magazines, one, stories of the church, what's going on, many branches and looking after the homeless. We have one from the counseling practice, coming from that angle, giving input. We have probably one, finding our way in a changing world, addressing some of the issues. And I think all 3 of them as a package, I think we're getting serious about being church. And a community and knowing who we are and how we position ourselves in this world because the times are changing.
And I think what this is us, the biblical thing about that pastors, are called to equip the saints for their ministry. Yeah. This is part of the equipping thing. So use these and the content as part of your ministry. So you read something and you think, wow, that's a great thing. I'll pass it on to my dad. I'll pass it on to my friend. I'll pass it on to my neighbor because you just had a conversation that actually talked about something like that and say, we've got something now. So use it as a talking tool to continue the conversation about faith.
Yes. And maybe write an article. Really volunteer. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Nice tuning in and nice talking to you. And, we look forward to really being church together.
Yep. Actually, one last thing before Edgar switches it off. Actually, do us a favor, and when you see these things, press like down the bottom. The more the more it starts to share with the others, because that's just the way it works, is that the more likes you get, the more it just pushes it out. So that's a good PR job.
Okay, wonderful. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.